Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode in the Suffer Well, Surrender to Rest in a Transition season. Now, if this is your first episode tuning in, or even if you've came on before for this season, I wanted to still share with you what Suffer Well means. What does Suffer Well really mean? It means that you have the ability to navigate difficult circumstances and enduring hardships with grace. It means to find purpose behind adversity and challenges. It's viewing challenges as opportunities for growth. The tests, trials, and hardships is actually an invitation for developing resilience, hope for the future, refining your character, surrendering and trusting God in the process. It means to rise when life or the enemy tried its hardest to tear and break you down. It means not giving up in the process. It means finding your strength, your power, and your light. And that's what Suffer Well means. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up our guest speaker for tonight, Miss Miko Reed. Hi,
Hey,
Miko. How are you?
hey, I'm good, Miata. How are you?
Pretty good. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for
And
having me.
our topic for tonight is self-love. All right. So Miko Reed is a poet. She's an author from DC. She's a host, and she actually hosts her own podcast, and I'm sure we'll talk about that later. And she's a curator as well. So she is a dynamic, wonderful artist, person. I met Miko 3 years ago now at an event in DC, and I wanted to connect with other poets, artists. So I met her through an organization called the Artist Network. And it was a great way to just have other poets and artists just support each other with their craft. So that is where I met Miko within that organization. And I'm so grateful for her to be a guest tonight. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It is so great to finally connect. Because I remember the year that we met, we were outside so much, like
Yes.
in the poetry scene, I remember just all the mics, and it was so free, right? But of course, as time goes on, things have to shift a little bit. But that was a great time. I think it was 2023.
Yeah.
2023, yeah.
And one thing about you, Miko, is that you always show love. Like I don't go to the open mics in DC a lot, but when I do, whenever I see you, it's just like you always show love. So you just have like this inviting, bubbly personality, and I love it. I love it.
Thank you. Yes, I try.
Yes. And when we talked offline, we were talking about, how self-love is such a necessary topic, especially when you're on a healing journey and a transition season. So I know from your podcast, Boots to Heels, that you are a retired Army sergeant.
I was like surgeon.
Ooh, I know, right? Sergeant, excuse me. How long were you in the Army, and when did you know it was time to change careers or change career paths?
Okay, so I spent 24 and a half years in the military. 24 and a half years. And to be honest, I would have went further, It was about, let me think, around 2017. And I had just finished recovering from my third spinal surgery, right? Right. And I don't talk about that much. I don't know why. I just don't. But I was recovering from it, and I was just like, "Am I gonna make sergeant major?" Like that was the highest. That's the highest enlisted rank in the military. I was already at the second highest, a master sergeant, and I was like, "Am I gonna make sergeant major?" And I was talking to my girls and everybody, and they're like, "You could go get your graduate degree." You know what I mean? Like there was a trade-off because I was nearing the end of the military. I could go further and then, make the last final rank. But what would it have done for me in my future beyond the military? For me, that is. I know like sergeant major was a very respectable rank. So that's when I knew it was time to shift gears. And instead of going to the sergeant's major academy, I decided to go ahead and get my graduate degree. So 2019, I retired. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
2019, you retired. And
Yes.
that was 7 years ago that you
Yeah.
retired. And I'm sure that was like a big, like you said, a big shift with making that decision.
Yeah.
And with that shift, I'm sure you had to think about like what will be the next direction that you're going. So I'm really glad that you made a decision to go, to school.
Yeah. Because because of course, so many, and we'll get into that, so many other things occurred along the path that going to school was a great decision, because I had to then start totally taking care of myself and my kids. So yeah.
Okay. Yes. And one thing about when we're going through different transitions in life, we have to, pause and really think about, okay, like this is an ending, but it's also giving us room for something beautiful to come from that. And we go through many different transitions, but I just felt like this topic was necessary because I feel like, women are not in the space to talk about it publicly. So just having a platform to just talk about, like, it's okay if you're in a space where you feel uncertain, that something else is going to happen. A new door is going to open up when something is closing.
Yes, I love that. I love that analogy. I love when people say that, because I don't say it often, but when I hear it, I embrace it, because that is so true.
Yes. And we oftentimes, I can't speak for anybody else, but oftentimes we just look at the doors that's closing, the doors that's closing, that we're not able to see or visualize the possibilities of new doors opening.
Right. Yeah.
So because I met you on the art scene, the DC art community, I know that you are a poet, speaker, co-host of a podcast, and so many other things, an author. So tell us about your journey of becoming an author poet. Like, did it start in 2019 or did it start much younger?
Oh, much younger.
Okay.
I don't even think you were born yet, Miata. That much younger, girl. Yeah. It started in I want to say the 90s. Yeah. So yeah, you were born, but it started in the 90s. And this first piece that I wrote, and it's so short, and I remember because I was in 9th grade, and it was called Life. And it's like it comes, it goes, people die, families cry, praises are given, births are performed, crimes are committed, but life goes on. Day after day, nonstop, time doesn't stand still. So I was 14 years old. I'm like, it was very 1 2 1 2, in terms of the cadence. But I wrote that after, and everyone who knows my story knows that I'm very vocal about things that happen in my life, because it's a call to action, so that at some point, we can, like, it has to stop happening, right? So I wrote that after a sexual assault, and I had to end up repeating the 9th grade twice. Wow. Right. New layers. I'm like, yeah, I have this degree from Georgetown. I'm this, but nah, shorty had to repeat the 9th grade. You know what I mean? And it was because of all of that was going on in my life. And that's what that poem was about for me. So that was the first poem that I'd ever written. I didn't write again, maybe for another 5 years. I didn't write anything else for about 5 more years. Yeah.
And thank you so much for sharing that, because during that time period, I'm probably sure you had like a whole lot of emotions that you're dealing with, and just having to be able to put your words on paper, that's so powerful, even at a very young age, at 14, and the hardship of having to repeat the 9th grade. But I'm sure it gave you that, resilience, like we talked about in the background of Suffer Well. You develop resilience and strength out of that situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Because it's it's embarrassing when you think about it, when you're going through it. But when you realize the reason that you have to do it is because it's no fault of your own. I was suffering and it wasn't well, you know.
Mhm.
So that resiliency came from that. And for me, I feel like that ability to just keep going is
Yeah.
something that I can impart to my kids or other people who are asking, like, how did you get to this point? Like, how did you become an author? Well, all of those poems that I wrote my entire like high school years, right? After like my last year in the high school years, I started writing right into my first year of college.
Mm.
All of those poems through my 20s made my first book. So yeah.
Nice.
hmm
And what is the what is the title of your book, your first book?
My first book, it's Eggshells and Soft Black Hands.
Okay.
hmm
And what is it about? I know you said it's a collection of poems that you have from childhood up
hmm
to your 20s. So what is it about?
Yeah. So and there's some sprinkled poems in there from my 30s and 40s too. But
Okay.
that bulk of that book is poems that I wrote from the lens of a young Black girl growing up in Washington D.C., in Potomac Gardens. Um, Victim of sexual assault, became pregnant, almost died from it,
Mm.
and still having to serve. Um, because I was raised Jehovah's Witness. So still having to serve a God that I felt at the time didn't protect me.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the thoughts of a teenager. You know what I
Right.
mean? I understand differently now, but during those times, um, that's how I felt. So the book is from a lens of a young girl, but also from an older woman who. So those are the personal essays in that book. It's
Mm.
prose, poetry, and personal essays at the end. Um, and I think it's a very good book. I
Yes.
think I put a lot of sweat equity and heart and soul in it, and it's just told some raw truth.
Mm-hmm.
It's just about raw truth. Yeah.
And one thing I'm learning on my journey is that it's really hard to be vulnerable and to share with others. I'm sure you probably
Mhm.
shared it with, your close friends, close family, things that you have encountered from childhood all the way up into your adulthood. But then like publishing it, it's like, oh, what are, at least for me, like, it's like, what are people
Mhm.
going to think and how they're going to view it? But
Mhm.
me starting this podcast series was because
Mhm.
like my spirit kept saying, you need to talk about it because even though the hardships we go through it, but it's
Mhm.
not it's for us to view it as something being birthed,
Yeah.
and if it
Yeah.
wasn't for the hardship, we wouldn't see, the greatness that could come from out of it, like
Yeah.
publishing your book and expanding into doing other projects.
Yeah.
Um, just to share a little background, I know on social media, a lot of people recently, with it being 2026, they're showing pictures of where they were from 2016,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I was
Yeah.
thinking about doing it, and I probably will later,
Mhm.
because I'm like, whoo, where I was 10 years ago is not where
Right.
I am today, right?
Right. Right.
Because I had my whole life planned out at a very young age, at like
Mhm.
13 in middle school,
Mhm.
of what I
Wow.
want to be and where I wanted to go. And I was big on vision boards when I was starting my journey at 29.
Mm.
And 2016 was the last vision board I created. And
Yeah.
I moved recently at the end of the year. And when you're moving, you're taking things out of storage, you're looking at all this stuff that's in boxes. And I picked up
Mhm.
my vision board for 2016. I was
Oh.
like, none of this stuff is on there as far as being a podcast host, being a wellness practitioner. I'm like,
Uh-huh.
okay. But I'm
You gotta
noticing that
share
it's
that.
okay. It's
You gotta
okay to
share
change
that.
directions.
Yeah.
But one thing that stayed consistent was poetry. Why? Because
Mhm.
we have power in our story. Nobody can tell our
Mhm.
stories like how we can. And it
Mhm.
takes a
Mhm.
lot of courage. And that's something that you have helped me with indirectly by
Mm.
showing up, even when it's hard to do, you still show up and share
Mhm.
your, like you said, your truth and your story.
Mhm.
And you're giving
Mhm.
other women the permission to do the same thing.
Yes, that's my that's my jam. Like I really love like I couldn't think of another way to say it, but like I really love that whole providing a platform or even being like a base for others to like feel like they can propel and they can become something greater than of something greater than where they are and who they
Mhm.
are and what they're doing, or even just hash out where they are. You said something I wanted to comment on. Two things. Your 2016 vision board, you got to share that. I want to see it. If you don't put it
Okay.
on social media, I definitely like text it to me. Like I'd be interested to see what that
Yes.
is. Yeah.
And I tell people this is my story. Like when I published my first book at 30, which was a children's
Mm.
book, but I
Oh.
started writing when I was an adult because I had nobody that was available for me to talk to about my
Mhm.
hardships, right? So
Mm.
writing was there for me, and I was able to
Mhm.
pour out my feelings and everything on paper. And then somebody said, "Hey, you should go to open mic," and I was like,
Right.
I'm an
Okay.
introvert. That's not gonna happen. And then with life and work and stuff, I kind of stayed away from open mic because I just wasn't, able to. But
Mhm.
then God was working on me too. Like, okay, release the feelings of stage fright, performance anxiety. You're here to share
Mhm.
your truth because somebody in the audience can resonate with it.
Yeah.
So I continue to go to the open mics, and even like the spaces I go to is so welcoming that no
Mhm.
matter, even if it's your first time or you haven't been on a mic in 5-10 years, take a break. People will
Mhm.
still show you that love, and that's one thing that I need because we need that, community. When
Mhm.
we are on a healing journey, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, sometimes our inner circle may not necessarily be the community that we need when we're finding that healing that we need for us.
Yeah. Yeah. You put it beautifully. The second thing I was going to say was that I didn't talk to my close friends and family about my life or the things that I've gone through. Shy from those things that are already like widely published, some things I kept personal. And I don't know why. I think I was just probably I'm more fearful of what people I connect with think about me or feel about me than I am about a stranger. And I think that's why I have become comfortable with telling my story on stages where I don't know a person in the audience because I'm just like, I don't have that fear,
Yeah.
I'm not going to see you again. And if I do, it's on social media or we're conversing about like, hey, the next event. So I think I'm opposite in that way. Like I really feel like I'm in my chair, I'm wiggly, I'm scared, I'm nervous of what people who are close to me are going to think because I
Mhm.
don't present how I feel. Well, I used to not do that. Now I'm on this journey of self-love and I'm like, hey, you gonna get what it is because I'm gonna tell you what I am right now. So yeah.
Yeah. And I like that you said that because sometimes, like you said, like the people that's closest to us, it could be hard to just open up, about deep down, like what you're going through.
Yeah.
So I can definitely understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And since we are talking about self love and we both got on our red shirts, what a coincidence. We both got on our red shirts. So this is Love Month. And
Yes.
I think it's so important to be kind to yourself, to show yourself grace and compassion when you're in a
Mhm.
healing journey or even in a season of transition when there's a lot of change that's happening, whether it's good change or bad changes that's going on in
Mhm.
your life. So when
Mhm.
you ever had a week or a month or a couple of days where it's just like, ooh, it's a lot going on, and you're dealing with like heavy emotions, how do you find peace?
Hmm. I have recently started doing this. I came across this reel from Denzel Washington, right? And he said, and it's something that we always hear, but something about him saying it kind of stuck with me. He said, when you wake up in the morning, you already know. You don't if you pull your phone and you immediately start scrolling, you're choosing to lean into chaos.
Mm,
When you wake up in the morning and you place your feet on the floor and you do some deep breathing, whether you meditate, whether you think about what the day is, or whether you just clear your mind, you're choosing to lean into peace.
mhm.
And then you can create what you want your day to look like or feel like. I've started doing that because girl, I'm telling you, I was like, my phone is right beside me. I'm like, and I can doom scroll or And I used to do that because I was so overwhelmed with the day-to-day activities of life, work, trying to pursue my art, trying to make sure my kids are fine, paying the bills of this new house, like doing all of these things. But I was leaning into chaos. So I choose to lean into peace. Sometimes if I wake up, instead of just putting my feet on the floor, I may just lay there and not touch anything and do some stretches in the bed or deep breathe and then think and organize like the first couple of hours of my day. So to answer your question, I think I'm intentionally choosing to lean into peace. That's how I find it. Yeah.
Yes. Intentionally choosing to lean into peace. I love that. And first thing in the morning, because sometimes like our phone may be right there beside us. And as soon as we wake up, we're looking at our phone. We're looking, you know what I mean? And it's like we are already thinking about our to-do list, all that we have to do before even getting out the bed and taking a shower. So it's like,
yeah. It's like, oh my gosh, there's this one. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
There's this one other thing that I do. I've recently started doing this in the last couple of weeks though. I started massaging my face. Like I have these oils by my bed. If I don't want to get up, if I'm like, okay, it depends on how I'm feeling the night before. If I'm like, okay, I'm going to get up and do it in a mirror, or I'm just going to lay there, depending if I don't have an early day. And it's like vitamin E oils, rose quartz, helichrysum, and it's like a ginger something extract oil, all essential oils for healing, right? So I just put them on my hands, my fingertips, and I start massaging my face for calmness, more peace, and more serenity, because the day is none of that. So it's like I'm creating that aura around me. And it sounds a little like, I don't know, offbeat or something, but I love it. It makes me feel luxurious. Like I feel like I'm massaging my face and I feel just like I'm worthy of this little mini facial, Yeah.
I love that. And please continue that and show me how to do a massage. I want to learn. Okay.
Like with your fingertips.
I need a massage. Yes. A facial massage. That sounds like something I could use too. And and when I think about like self-care or when it comes to rest practices, it's something like you mentioned, intentional. And as I'm getting older, believe it or not, I turned 40. I look good, black.
You are 40?
I turned 40 last year, and
oh my gosh.
Yes. And the clarity for me came. A lot of clarity came for me because I felt like I was drowning in a sea of uncertainty. I felt lost and stuck for years. But I don't know what it is about like now being in my 40s. It's like, okay, I don't have to perform. I don't like it's just certain things like, okay, just be.
Right.
And I'm loving this, getting to know this version of me. Like I'm still getting to know this version of me, and I'm loving it. Yeah.
I love that for you. I love when we hold on to when we grasp something at an age that, like, for instance, let me just say it. At 40, I wasn't where you were. Like I was not there. And I'm like, damn, it took me a whole, like I'm 51. I'm like, it took me a whole freaking decade to realize that I am worthy of self-love. I'm worthy of, embracing this journey that I'm on and taking a beat if I want to get off of it for a minute and get back on it, I love it when it happens earlier for the girlies. Yeah. That's what's up.
And I love that you said that earlier, because for me, it felt like delay, and I was looking at societal pressures in that comparison, like, because I've never been married, I've never had kids. And that's a question that I'm going to ask is like, what is, if you feel compelled to share, if there was a situation that you've been through that your younger self will be happy of the decision that you made now, like the healed version of you will be happy. And while you're thinking and pondering, I can share that example.
Yes.
So like I said, like I was close, very close in my mind to being married a few years ago. And when I realized that this is not going anywhere, it took every fiber in me to walk away because we were just at a standstill. We weren't going up, we weren't going down. It was just like, okay, if we're not going to be, serious after like 7-8 years, I might as well just leave, right? And then in 2018, girl, I thought I was ready to start dating again. I started meeting folks, and because we broke up in 2017, I started meeting people, and I was like, I don't think I'm ready. And I kid you not, Miko, my spirit said, if you want a healthy relationship, that starts with you first. Yeah. And that's when I started doing solo dates. It was awkward as fuck in the beginning because it's like, I'm sitting here by myself. Everybody's looking at me, like, why is this person sitting at the restaurant by herself? But it just felt really awkward at first. But then I realized, I was like, but this is for me, like I ordered it and now I love it. And I enjoy solo dates now. And it's about a choice. Because if I'm meeting somebody is not the issue for me. It's like, because I've done a lot of work on myself, it's like, okay, yeah, I'm good. We don't need to go any further, but I think for me, like, I would just stick around because of my age. Like, oh, well, what would people think? I'm pushing 40 and I'm still single without kids. And I was in a relationship with somebody recently, but then I started seeing red flags. I started seeing red flags early in relationships now. And I'm like, the younger version of me would ignore it and say, well, just stick around, Right. I got out of it when I started seeing those red flags. And I said, you know what? I have to speak truth because I don't care that I'm pushing 40. I don't care I won't have, biological kids because I know I'm going to be a mother. I'm a mother at heart, but it doesn't matter what my biological clock says. I'm still going to be a mother, whether by birth or by adoption. Right. So it's like, I don't have to stay with this person in a relationship because I think that's what I'm lacking. It's not, that desire of being a mom. So I had to choose me and choose that peace intentionally. And that's something that.
Wow. That's really deep. That's deep. It's funny. Now I get why you said, like, when I said younger, like, congratulations for reaching that point at a younger age. And you're like, 40, that's not younger. But to me, girl, I'm your auntie. No, let me stop.
Yes, auntie.
Like, I'm your auntie, boo. But no, all jokes aside, I think that I would probably say more so for friendships for me. Like, yes, I was married 18 years. This coming March will be 3 years divorced. I have 2 kids. And I closed on my first home by myself last July. So I'm like, okay, I love it. But I think I realized that, okay, I'm a people pleaser, right? I realize that. I know I am. And in most ways, that's not great because people who are bad people will take advantage of that, and they can be very manipulative in any scenario, whether it's relationships, work, friendships. So I think I would choose to be more aware when it's a red flag in any kind of situation. So for instance, like work, I don't even want to call them friends, right? Like work relationships. Within work relationships, and then you start to become really cool associates with them, right? I was in the military. So you feel like you guys see eye to eye, we're on the same path. They wouldn't do anything to hurt me. But then you realize, I look back and I realize, man, I would never have stayed friends with so-and-so and so-and-so. Miko today would never have accepted the type of friendship or association that I was receiving back then, simply because I wanted to feel that I held a purpose in their life, like that I was worthy to be in someone's life and they needed me. And I just wanted to feel that love. And so I stayed in any scenario, whether it served me or not. I'm not ever doing that again. In anything, relationship, friendship, car dealership,
right?
any shit, like miss me with your nasty, right? All of it. So, yeah.
I love that. And I love the fact that we're talking about navigating different, relationships, not just romantic, but also friendships.
Mhm.
Because when we're navigating different relationships, sometimes even in friendships, it can be one sided.
Yeah.
And on my journey, this was also 3 years ago. I remember having a conversation with a friend, and I felt like we were being distant. And then I
Mhm.
was talking to get advice, to make a long story short, from a friend to see how should I handle that situation, because it was a situation that happened. And I was like, wait a minute, I thought we were friends. Like, I was questioning if we're
Right.
friends or not, because
Right.
why
Right.
would you, act that way, or whatever the situation. I don't even remember, because it was like 3 years ago, the
Right.
situation.
Right.
But it
Right.
was to the point where I was like, you know what? Listening to your intuition won't steer you wrong. I was already thinking like we weren't even friends anymore. I
Mhm.
started being,
Mhm.
because when you're doing work on yourself, or just growing, healing,
Mhm. Mhm.
it's like, okay, some people may notice that, but then it's like, it's not that you're acting funny. It's just like, my perspective is different now. I'm no longer tolerating things, like you said, being a
Yeah.
people pleaser. I'm not,
Yeah.
there's certain things I'm just not going to tolerate. So, but I wasn't able to verbally say that. But then
Right.
after an incident, I was like, are we friends?
Right. Like,
And
who doesn't
and
do
yeah,
that?
let me tell you something. She just stopped unfollowing me on social media. Like,
What?
and I never had no argument with her or nothing. She just
Oh, she
unfollowed me. I was
knew.
like, well, that's the answer right there. We're not friends.
Right. And some of that is jealousy, and
Yeah.
it because people can't handle, even if you're not even fully healed, the journey to healing is healing, and
Yeah.
people can't handle that version of you,
Yeah.
in general, the general you. People are used to the people pleasing, the, "Okay, sure. Yeah, if you like, da, da, da." But
Mhm.
they're not used to no. And no is not mean, it's a sentence, it's a kindness that I'm offering you, because my yes, I you don't want my yes, because it's not gonna be served well, and
Mhm.
I'm going to retaliate, and I'm going to react differently. So let me give you my no so that I can protect my peace, you know?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Because if not, they're just gonna keep dumping and dumping, and
Mhm.
you gotta protect your peace at any cost.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I love that, and I loved how you mentioned, as far as, like, self-love, knowing your worth, and for
Mhm.
me, I think of it as, it doesn't matter if it was at a younger age or an older age, but just realizing, that you are worthy.
Yes,
And the
yes.
younger version of you may have tolerated, but now it's like, I'm not gonna deal with, certain things that you would have put up with a few years ago. So what does self-love look like for you after divorce?
Um,
And it's
and
okay if it's like a day to day, it may look
yeah,
differently,
I was gonna
from day to
say,
day. Yeah.
I think I think I am just stepping into it, honestly, and it's so funny. So I'm in a couple of workshops online. I'm missing one tonight. I think you had Maria on your show, on your podcast,
Yes.
Ground Zero Interrupting. Yes, I'm in her workshop. I'm doing, just a whole journey. Also, I'm in Dr. Rebecca Dupas's workshop,
Okay.
How to Slay a Dragon. So it's funny because I actually wrote about that. I wrote about the self love journey that I'm just starting.
Mhm.
Um, and it felt, what's a word that, icky at first. It
Mhm.
felt like I don't deserve to tell these people I can't do this because I want to stay home and I want to take a long, luxurious bath and I want to binge on my favorite Netflix show,
Mhm.
or I want to practice playing the guitar, or I want to do these things for myself. I felt selfish, right? Because I'm so used to giving and saying yes to
Yeah.
everyone. And I still struggle with that, girl. Like I still struggle with saying yes to myself more. So
Mhm.
self-love looks like checking myself when I before I say yes to something. It's like, Miko, does this serve you?
Hmm.
Um, and 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 if it doesn't serve you, what does it serve? Okay, maybe it serves a population that I would like to serve. I think I use serve too many times, but you understand what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
maybe it's it's more beneficial to someone else. So maybe I can say yes this time, even if it's not serving me, but it's beneficial to others. And I'm servant leadership, like that's my whole thing in life. Nurse, recruiter, platforms for people to speak. That's who I am. But even then, I gotta say no sometimes. And I think that's me checking myself to show myself some consideration and some grace and some love. And I realized that I actually like spending time alone. I used to be so like, oh, I'm so bored. But now I'm like, man, when my son goes with his dad for the weekend, if my daughter's hanging out with her friends, I'm like, what am I going to do?
Right.
Yeah.
What I do with all this free time, right?
Yeah.
But I love the fact, and that's one thing about the journey, is ongoing, is evolving, especially when we're in different seasons of our lives. It may look differently in another season that you may encounter. So I just love the fact that you're continuing to learn more about yourself in this new season. And, treat yourself. And I love how you just mentioned as far as the yes, is this serving you first? Because when you're so used to saying yes to everything else, but it's like, okay, how, like, use what you just said, like those reflective questions. And I really love that, because you'll know if it's for you, or is this best for somebody else to do this activity or project, or is it something that can happen later? Because I'm also hearing that you're giving yourself permission to say no. You're giving yourself permission to say, this project can wait, or activity can wait, so I love that. But self-love, and 7 years ago for me, self-love, and it's still something I'm working on, is like, okay, if I want a healthy relationship, it starts with me first. You are your first relationship. I am my first best friend. And I really love that.
I like that. And you're a wellness coach, right? You said
wellness practitioner.
Wellness practitioner.
Yes.
I love that. Okay.
And I'm a creative wellness practitioner. So it's like, haven't started yet, but I may incorporate like journaling with meditation. So I do offer like meditation services now.
Okay. Meditation and Miko is a crazy thing, girl. I have tried it. And I do embrace it, but I think that, okay. I think that I hold so much inside of me that I'm scared of the result of meditation beyond 3 minutes. Because I'm just like, am I going to break down? Like what? So before I get to that point, I'm like, okay, all right, no, let me work on just doing my facial first. Let me do my facial. Yeah.
And that's real, because meditation, it doesn't always have, there's different forms of it. It doesn't always have to be in stillness. Meditation can include movement too. So the last 3 years, I've been really into like walking, because it's very cleansing for me. Let me go out and get some fresh air. Now I'm trying to do it all year round. I haven't been able to do that, so I'm trying to keep my walking pad, because as I get older, my body is changing,
The bones,
it's like, okay, my body is stiff, so I have to incorporate some type of movement that I'm going to enjoy. So like meditating can be like walking and the deep breathing that you do. You don't have to be, in stillness to do that. Yeah.
Okay. That's good to know. My sister does a lot of walking. Like she's an avid walker for the fresh air. Yeah.
And I'm noticing that like I have so many ideas in my mind, like and thoughts. And a lot of times it's like negative self-talk. And that's been like where I've been since the beginning of my journey. But now I'm just like, okay, with my meditation, I'm able to stop all that and say, and replace it with positive thoughts, replace it, and just repeating that over and over again, to just find that, like you said, the compassion, giving yourself grace, releasing whatever no longer serves you or what's aligned with how you want your day to be. And for me, like I may start it in the beginning of my day, because I'm setting that intention for how I want my day to be. Some people may do it at night before bed, but for me, I'm like, I gotta do it in the morning, because at nighttime, okay, like I do at times, but I need it in the daytime too.
Right. Yeah, I needed to carry me through the
throughout
day.
the
Yeah.
day.
I don't need it much at night. Yeah.
Mhm.
I can go to sleep.
Yes. So I know what you mentioned as far as like poetry and even your podcast and hosting. I know you do so many things and you're beyond talented. And that's one thing I love so much about you is that
Oh,
you
thank
can wear
you.
so many different hats.
Mhm.
So with your podcast, like what are some of the topics that you talk about? And is it weekly? And what like how was oh wait, let me rephrase that. Like how was it birthed? Like what made you want to
Oh,
start?
this is the funniest little story. It's so short. Um, for quite some time, my best friend and I, we were like, oh, we're gonna do a reality show. We're gonna do um, the Real Housewives of the military. Like we're just saying all these things while we were both in the military. And then maybe what year we started 2025. So it was, I don't even know if she remembers this. It was December 2024. I was at her house. I was sitting, we were talking, and I was like, she was, I don't know what we were talking about, relationships, because I was, still going through the divorce or it's always going through the divorce when it's 18 years. You always have these
Mhm.
conversations. So you're some remnants that's left there. So we're going back and forth, just great, excellent conversation. She's like, girl, we should be recording this. We got some,
Mhm.
we good. And we're like, yeah, girl, yeah. So we laugh and she's like, we should we should do a podcast. And I'm like, all right, yeah, sure. She's like, I'm so serious, Miko. We got to be committed. I'm like, girl, at that time, Miata, I was hosting 3 different open mics,
Mm.
working full time. My son was in some sport. My daughter was in college. Like I was tapped out.
Mhm.
But my best friend said we should do this. And her visions, she doesn't have, she's not like me, this like, I want to do this, I want to do this, I'm going to do this. She's so linear and specific. I'm like,
Mhm.
oh nah, let me do this because this is gonna be something.
Yeah.
Okay. Come January 2025, January the 8th, we made a video talking about the podcast. January 15th, we recorded our first podcast. I was like, we should do it like, every other week or once a month. She was like, no, we're doing it every week, Miko. I was like,
Every week. Wow.
God dang. I said, are you sure? She's like, yes. I'm like, now she can be very bossy, okay? Sometimes it's good because I can be very like, but we have not missed a week since January 15th, 2025.
And you
And
just
it is,
celebrated 1 year. So
yes.
congratulations.
Thank
Yes, every week.
you. Thank
Yes.
you. And we are excited because we have our sisters, like our literal blood sisters, that are they're like production, executive producers,
Mm.
feedback coordinators. It's all in a family. My cousin is she's the AV, she's, also producer. Like it's a family thing, and we are boots to heels. It originated from us being in the military, and now
Mm.
we're both in corporate America. Yeah. So and we talk about everything under the sun. Trending topics, mostly relationship, a lot of military in the beginning. She's a fitness guru, I'm a poet. So we
Okay.
talk about that. Um, yeah, we get into it, girl. Yeah.
Mhm.
Hmm.
I love that. And for those that are on tonight, you got to check out Miko's podcast. It, like she mentioned, is every week. What day of the
Yes.
week is it?
It drops. It's Boots to Heels _podcast on YouTube. It drops 12 noon on Wednesdays, every Wednesday. We are
Mhm.
having we're having our second live podcast with Dr. Rebecca Dupas, Caleb the Poet, and Tilo, and of course, Nikki and Miko. We're going to be live at Brandywine,
Yes.
Piano Keys Restaurant and Lounge, March 21st from 2 to 5 p.m. So tickets are on Eventbrite. It's for
Yes, and
Women's Month.
please come out. I'll be there. So
Yes.
yes, I've been watching your episodes, and like you said, it's so relatable. The topics
Yeah.
that you do talk about is very relatable, and I just love that you and your best friend's dynamic. It's just I feel like I'm sitting right there in the living room with you guys, or whatever room that you guys are in.
Yes, that's the feeling we want to invoke. We want people to feel that, right? Yeah,
Mhm.
it's real. Yeah.
And one thing that I want to talk about, because I feel like self-love and forgiveness go hand in hand, right?
Mhm.
So when you are as you are on this self-love journey, as you continue on the self-love journey, was there anything that you had to forgive, whether it was forgiving
Mm.
yourself or forgiving others?
Probably myself more.
Okay.
Um, I am I am aside from being self-deprecating, right? As a joke, like but sometimes that kind of negative self-talk can really get inside of your brain. And
Mm-hmm.
I got to forgive myself
Mm-hmm.
for talking the way that I would tell my kids, like, don't say that about yourself. Don't,
Mm-hmm.
you're great, you are phenomenal, you're worthy. But I don't tell myself those things,
Mm-hmm.
Um, and maybe for a long time I relied on other people to tell me that.
Mm-hmm.
And that it's a cycle because then that perpetuates more self-pleasing. I mean, more people pleasing, so
Mm-hmm.
that you can hear people say, "Oh my gosh, great job." But it's like, what? That's crazy. Like, I'm a whole grown woman. Why am I trying to get some kind of accolades or some kind of like, great, yeah, you accomplished it from someone else? I got to give it to myself.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
would I would say mostly I would love to forgive myself for the things I put myself through. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I love that you said that, because with that self-forgiveness, that's showing awareness,
Yeah.
So yes, definitely being able to forgive yourself and knowing now that you are worthy and that you don't need that external validation. Maybe the other version of you needed that, to help,
Right.
boost you. Because even for myself, that's an area that God's like, why do you keep putting yourself down? Those are all lies.
Yeah.
You are
Yeah.
great. You don't need
Yeah.
anybody else to tell you that. I
Mhm.
told you that. So why aren't you
Right.
believing it?
Right.
Use
Exactly.
some shit. Use
Right.
it. You're a badass.
Like, what the hell? Yeah.
Yeah. And we need those reminders. We definitely need those reminders, whether it's from ourselves. And that's one
Mhm.
thing poetry does for me. Whenever I'm
Mm.
going through, like, not even always the hard time, but that's when I know that I'm really need to write something. But it
Mhm,
may not
mhm.
necessarily be like a finished product, but I definitely, that's one of my tools, is definitely writing something.
Poetry, yeah, poetry. And recently I've been delving into like storytelling for,
Mm-hmm.
like I will start off in a poetry format, but then I find myself just like writing a story, like a
Mm-hmm.
little mini short stories to yeah.
And speaking of stories and poetry, and I love the fact that you're expanding also to write stories, because one thing, because I'm a storyteller and I'm very
Mhm.
visual when it comes to my writing. And somebody said, "This is
Mhm.
not a poem. You're writing a whole book. Like, you need to shorten this
Right.
down." Like, when
Right,
somebody
right.
was editing my poems for my book, they're just like, "You
Mhm.
need to shorten this." And I was like, "But I can't, because I'm very like descriptive."
Mhm. Yeah, I
Um,
love your writing too, by the
Thank
way.
you, and I
Love
love
when you get
yours
on
too.
stage. Yeah.
And writing for me has been very healing. So how has writing, whether it's short stories or poems, helped you on your healing journey?
Um to in one word, in one sentence, I will say this. Writing poetry. Poetry is my soulmate.
Hmm.
Poetry is my soulmate. I've been playing around with that for a new poem that I'm almost done with. Um, it has really shown me that, I mean, it saved me. You know what I mean? I feel like we look to people to save us sometimes, right? I think it's just human nature. Even if even if you don't think that's the case, like we kind of gravitate to those that we feel safe to, right? Safe around. But feel like I feel safe this with poetry. I
Mm-hmm.
feel whole. There was this I forgot what it's called, but my best friend and I did it on a podcast. It's like, can you sit in a room by yourself like for $1 million for a week? I'm like, can I have a pen and a pad? Right. If I
Mm-hmm.
can have a pen and a pad, I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's probably the only thing in the world that that I would hate to have to ever lose is poetry. So I think, yeah, it saved me. It saved me on so many occasions. Yeah.
I love that. I love how you mentioned that it saved you and it's also your soulmate. You know,
Yeah.
to me, I'm hearing that it's your love language and
Yeah.
it's the love week. So it's like, what is life like without poetry? What?
Right.
Yeah. And
Right.
for me, like I said, like my writing was just for me when I
Mhm.
started my healing journey. And God's been stretching me to go on stages more. And I'm like, okay, I don't like to do this, to be on stage. I'm just writing
Right,
for
right,
me.
right.
But I'm like, I'm leaning, like we talked about earlier, just lean into it
Right.
because opportunities can come from it.
Mhm.
And it's my safe space also. You know, when I feel like I can't really talk to other people or they may judge me or misunderstand what I'm trying to say, my
Mhm.
writing's right there, you know.
Mhm.
So, and I have a line of poems that I wrote a few years ago, and that's going to lead to my next question. It's like, okay, my poem, a line that I said, it's like, how dare I give up on poetry when poetry was right there for me? Like, I can't give up on my baby. It was
Right.
there for me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm it's funny because I'm juxtaposing the whole that's my word forever. If my sister's watching, she's like, I knew you were gonna say juxtapose. I'm just like, it feels like I write when I'm feeling bad.
Mhm.
But when I'm happy, I don't write as much. And
Mm.
I started playing around with that whole like I cheated on my soulmate. You know what I mean? And so that's a new poem that's coming out. Um and 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 yeah, I think that those two things can go hand in hand. Like you can love poetry, but when are you loving it? For me, that's my question to myself. I'm loving it when I want to get some stuff off my chest,
Mhm.
and I love it when I'm listening to other people, when I'm happy, but it's nothing inside of me wanting to write how happy I am. And
Mm.
maybe that's a part of the journey because maybe I don't believe that I'm really happy, you know?
I love that. I loved how you mentioned that, like, you know, and challenging yourself to write when it's like a happy occasion too, not just when
Yeah.
you're feeling something that's heavy. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And the question that I was going to ask, like, I know you've been writing for many, many years. And do you find yourself, I saw somebody post this on their page like maybe a year or two ago, and I was like, okay, this will be a great question to ask in our segment. Do
Mhm.
you find yourself like retiring some of your poems, or do you bring it back, like if you have a feature, or does it just depend on what type of set you're trying to create?
Right. That's a great question. I think I have retired some of my poems.
Okay.
Um, and and they would be around occasions. If
Mhm.
so, I'm not an erotic writer at all,
You're not a
right?
what? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Erotic,
Okay.
erotic poetry. I'm
Yes.
like, no shade to those who are like. There's a space for everything, and poetry is
Mm-hmm.
poetry. It's beautiful. But I don't write it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I wrote one piece that was quasi erotic. I have since retired that because I'm like, that's
Yeah.
not me, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But at the time I had some stuff to get off my chest. So I was like, all right, here we go. So pieces like that, or pieces that were timed, I will say them for people that need to hear it, but I wouldn't make it a part of my set if it's just a regular feature.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a feature surrounding, you know, assault, then I'll bring out that piece. Or domestic violence, I'll bring out that piece. Something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I loved how you mentioned that because like even for myself, like I try to write a poem, erotic poem also. And I was like, I was even visualizing it. I'm on a beach, I'm doing this to him, he's doing this to me on the beach. Like I was really trying to write it out, but
Right.
it just did not flow the way I
Yeah.
wanted to,
Yeah.
and I try to write something else on like Black Lives Matter, on like the politics and stuff like that. I was
Oh,
like, I tried to, but it just did not flow. So I'm just like, okay,
yeah.
the type of poetry that I write is about self-discovery, about
Yeah.
healing, about
Mhm.
turning pain into purpose. I feel like
Yeah.
that's my journey, So
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay,
Yeah.
I've lived it. So maybe
Yeah.
that's why I can write it more.
Yeah.
And honestly, like I don't have any love poems per se.
Right.
I had to retire those poems like niggas ain't shit, like you always hurting me type of thing. I had to retire that because I'm
Right.
like, okay, I don't necessarily feel that way anymore, but I have a lot of self-love poems,
Right.
you know? So
Right.
I love the fact that
Yeah.
we were able to be aligned to talk about self-love tonight.
Yeah. I
Mhm.
love that. Yeah, I love that. And I don't have enough self-love poems.
Mm.
I don't have enough self-love poems. But this has, reading over some of the things that you sent me, it has encouraged me to break my pen out and
Okay.
start some self-love journey poems. Because it's a difference with a journal, like I'll journal, but like a poem. Yeah.
Mhm. And that's one thing, that's probably why my poems are so lengthy, because it always starts off as journaling,
Oh,
but then I
okay.
have to go back and like edit it to shorten it up a little bit.
Okay.
So this has been a great conversation. Thank you so much,
Yes.
Mika, for your time. And to
Thank
close this out,
you.
could you please share with us a poem tonight?
Oh, okay. Let me see.
And it
Let
doesn't
me.
have to be around like self-love, or it could just be any poem.
Okay. So it's funny. 1 second. Let me pull it up. Okay. So this is. I'll do a portion of this piece. Okay. So this, yeah, time. This piece it started off as, I started writing this. I'm looking at the time. I started writing this not too far, maybe 2 years after, maybe a year after my divorce.
Mm.
Right.
So it was
And
fresh after your divorce.
yeah. And so I'm gonna go fast. It's
No, take your
wait,
time. And let's,
okay.
you don't have to rush
No,
it.
no. Okay, here we go. This piece is called The New I'm just gonna start it. All right. But it's going to end nice, guys. Whoever's watching, it's going to start off from where I was and where I am. All right. I'm going to introduce you to a new face of depression. Number one, we come fully equipped with engaging smiles, corporate office days, and bottle popping nights. Number two, we brunch on Sundays with sundresses and red bottoms. We discuss house decor on boat docks, summer camps, and stock markets. Number three, we definitely keep our sadness at bay because ain't nobody got time for that. But at night, number four, it lingers close to our hearts, clings to us like static, like babies with a rice grip. It's my silent bestie. Number five, depression. Hands me mimosas to sip, so I do. Pours me another one, tells me I'm deserving, and I believe it. Number six, so I sip and sip and sip until the well is dry enough for me to add my own, and I do, but silently, because my kids are still playing Roblox on the upper level as my sobs defy myself. This is depression. High functioning, ADHD and smiles with weekend Adderall withdrawals. We suffer in silence like meditation, like monks, like martyrs. And on the weekends, we ball so hard motherfuckers really can't find us.
Mm.
Because most times our phones are on D&D or we're passed out from bottomless mimosas. But we still parent hard. We hide smiles and water bottles mixed with tequila. Don't worry about me, worry about your mama is our mantra. Well, it was our mantra. I was depressed. Sometimes it still pops in for a visit. And yes, it took me 2 years, 4 months, and 10 days to admit that between death and births, divorce and mental illness, grief counseling, between soirees, between open mics, between new shows, between cancellations, between new outfits and 10 pounds, between 20 pounds, between losing 15, between gaining 10 again, I was depressed. And though that has changed over the years, sometimes that gray cloud seems to hit me harder when small things happen, like when Apple makes an On This Day album of broken promises and lies between smiles. See, I was raised to believe that depression was a sin in so many ways.
Mm.
God gave you life filled with sunsets and sun Sahara gazes. So in 2021, when my daddy died, and my marriage failed, I felt lost. I lost faith in God because I didn't let him step in. So I did my own thing. I went to counseling. I told them half truths. I cried in the car on the way home, and I smiled for the kids just to see them through. I was depressed, and I know no one wanted to believe it because there I was, always a smile on my face. But I often wondered if the family members of those resting in peace wished that they embraced them tighter when they said that they were. Now, that's a dark analogy, but in many cases, it's true. Make no mistake about it. I battle with functional depression, the kind that hides behind smiles, curated grins, and deep laughter, the kind that makes you dream of tears and wake up with water in your eyes. And all you do is wash your face during your normal morning routine and go about your day. But in my life, I seek therapy. I seek change. I eat, pray, love harder than Julia. I binge on gummy bears, the luxury kind. On Friday nights, I might roller skate with my son, might write a new poem, might binge a show with my daughter, might sip on some Prosecco. And while depression still tries to wedge its comfy soup bowl back in my space, it's safe to say I am okay. I used to hide my pain behind smiles when I didn't think I deserved love. Now I smile and work through the pain because I know I am worthy, because I love the person that I am continuing to become. And now I know who I am.
Yes. Woo-hoo! Y'all that's watching, go ahead and put your hearts in the chat. Put those fire emojis in the chat. Yes. I love that.
Thank you. It's a piece I wrote, and I'm still like, I've never actually read it out loud. That was my first time reading it out loud. Yeah. Well, actually my second. I think I read it once at a busboys right when I wrote it. But yeah.
And thank you so much for sharing that particular piece tonight on this podcast, because we do go through so many heavy emotions, especially after, a divorce or during it. And it's like a wave of grief, so, and to be able to still experience that joy in the midst of it. So yes, that's a powerful piece and very, very touching. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
And for those that may have just come on, I know you shared that you have a podcast and you have an event, a live show coming on, but can you share it again for those that may have just come on? How can we connect with you, and what do you have coming up?
Absolutely. So I have 2 Instagrams. My personal one is Miss Miko Reed. And then my podcast is Boots to Heels podcast on IG, and Boots to Heels _ podcast on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe because we're trying to get our subscribers up. And it's military. It starts off military. It's Boots to Heels. We're having our very first podcast, our second live podcast, March 21st at Piano Keys Restaurant and Lounge in Brandywine, Maryland, from 2 to 5 p.m., March 21st, 2 to 5 p.m. And we have Dr. Rebecca Dupas. We have Caleb the Poet. We have Tilo, and you have Nikki and Miko. And it's a live audience. Come out there and support us. It's a couple hours on a Saturday. And we drop every Wednesday at noon, every single week.
And you haven't missed a Wednesday yet.
We have not missed a Wednesday because my best friend said rain, sickness, sleet. No, it don't matter. You better have your ass on that couch. So that's what we do. Yeah.
Yes. So thank you so much for joining us. And yes, please connect with Miko. You heard her tonight, what she's doing. She does great things in the DMV. And also, please come back for next week, same time. We're going to be talking about life pivot after 35 and redefining what success looks like. Okay, so I look forward to seeing y'all come back next Thursday at 7 p.m. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Miata. I love this. I love this podcast. Thank you so much for having me.